Independent Police Conduct Authority review be noted. Members of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. Members, I understand the next issue, the next review, which to be debated by the House, is the Justice and Electoral Committee's review of the Privacy Commissioner for 2011-12. The question is that review be noted. Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a great pleasure to talk on the report on the financial review of the Privacy Commissioner. It's been a difficult time for the Privacy Commissioner, and when she spoke to the Justice and Electoral Committee, she prefaced her remarks with this, I think, somewhat cryptic, but I think very telling statement. She said, and I quote, "It's obvious to a blind bantam hen, of course, that there is an awful lot going on the privacy front." Now, we didn't get around to asking who she had in mind as the bantam hen, but I don't think it takes too much imagination, and we think that the bantam hen should be called fully to account for her ongoing blindness. Because the truth is, Mr. Chairman, that the Privacy Commissioner's Office has had a funding freeze for 8 years, 5 years of those under this government, and in the same time they've had a 42% increase in the number of complaints they've had to process. 8 years, 5 years under this government of a funding freeze and a 42% increase in their workload. And of course the telling thing about the workload, Mr. Chairman, is that the nature of the complaints is getting more complex and more sophisticated, because they're no longer just the single and individual breach. They are the multiple breaches, and they are the systemic failures and the systemic problems. And as the Privacy Commissioner herself noted in her report to this select committee, it is issues of culture in the workplace. She said that, the way she described it in terms of her challenges in the future, is that, and I quote, "The moment has come where we've got to very much remember that we shouldn't go for a sort of band-aid solutions." She is saying that just trying to crimp and squeeze a little more blood out of this very difficult stone is no longer good enough. The problems are too challenging, the problems are too great, and she needs more support and better resourcing. And that is a challenge for this Parliament to get to grips. And what she described as an information and data climate that is now a revolution, then we have to take seriously the risks of data breaches and privacy breaches that poses, and ensure that our last bastion of oversight and assurance for the general public is properly resourced to do her job. And so that remains a major challenge for her office and indeed for the government. She said, and I quote in her comments to the Select Committee, "I have to take a measured approach within my resources and capabilities and assess which of those breaches will require more action." She's basically saying that she now has regular trade-offs to make about which matters she inquires into and which she simply has to let go. It was interesting the way she described it, the metaphor she used. She said, not to be confused with the bantam hen, of course, she said, "I feel a little bit like the little red tugboat that hasn't got enough fuel. We're there, but we can't always go out into the harbour and do something about it and help. It's like MSD or ACC are like the big ocean liners, full of people's information, and there's only so much the little tugboat can do." Well, Mr. Chairman, I think that is a very telling metaphor that she has used, and that is a cry for help, and the very professional way that our present Privacy Commissioner conducts herself, something for which this House should be, and I know is particularly grateful. So we had, in the year under review, some major privacy breaches in our government departments, not to mention the private sector, but certainly the government departments. The ACC breach is foremost amongst them, and that was over 6,000 ACC claimants had their information improperly disclosed. We had breaches at WINS and or MSD, and the very chilling prospect that somebody can go into an MSD kiosk, publicly accessible kiosk, and get information that is ought to be confidential. Likewise with Inland Revenue. And I think another very frightening and chilling experience was with the Ministry of Justice only this year, when a member of the public went through a publicly accessible channel, got access to confidential information about legal aid payments made to lawyers. The government's response was, of course, to accuse that good citizen who revealed that as being a hacker. And not only that, referring the matter to the police, and we now have an MP of this House on this side of the House under a police investigation because we have a Minister of Justice who wishes not to deal with a very serious issue.
I note the Greens are seeking a call. Standing Orders 3 and 5 on page 16 expressly forbid the displaying of any slogans in the House, and no Green will get a call while that's there. Honourable Leanne Dalziel.
Mr. Chairman, the Privacy Commissioner is one of the Crown entities that is